I really don't want to pick a side on this one either. Arman Tsarukyan against Joel Álvarez. So 17-2 for Arman Tsarukyan, 19-2 for Joel Álvarez. Big height and reach advantage for Álvarez at 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. Lots of submissions on Joel Álvarez's record as well. This is where I think they've got clever matchmaking, because Tsarukyan made his debut against Makhachev and was endlessly impressive in that fight. Compared to a lot of the people that Makhachev had faced before, he was able to not only put up the best put up the best defense against wrestling, but also some offense as well, which we just don't generally see. And I feel like with a bit more experience in the UFC, I think that would have, that could have been an even more closely contended fight, if not a 5-rounder. I mean, I could have watched that for 2 more rounds, definitely. I actually watched it back earlier today, and Felder and I were having such a fucking laugh.
Oh yeah, I watched it back earlier today. It was awesome fight.
Yeah.
So I've never watched a UFC fight where there's such a high level of wrestling from both guys.
Yeah. So usually they don't wrestle.
Yeah.
Normally when they're both that good at wrestling, neither of them want to wrestle, because it's almost like they don't want to find out who's the worse wrestler. But they were after it straight away in the first round, and he gave Makhachev everything he could handle. I was really impressed with him. Aubin Mercier is a good win. Hamos is a good win. Favola's a good win. But then stopping Giagos with strikes, catching his kick and catching him with that long left hook. Yeah, I literally think he is just kind of finding his rhythm now. He's only 25. He's got loads and loads of time. I think Joel Álvarez is maybe a little bit further ahead in his career, like maturity-wise. I think he's a bit more comfortable, and I certainly think with his last couple of performances, he's starting to realise himself, and realising himself as a 6'3" lightweight who must look at everybody he faces like they're tiny. I mean, that 77 inches is a long reach for a lightweight. That's a middleweight reach. To stop Thiago Moises the way he did, smashed him with elbows, hit him with those beautiful uppercuts to the body. At no point did he look startled in that fight at all. Was it Ismagulov? He looked a little bit kind of excitable and a bit like, oh my God, UFC. But then after that, Belwado, Duffy, Yakovlev, he stopped all of them.
That's the interesting thing about both these guys. They both lost their... I know, obviously, Tsarukyan's debut was against Makhachev, but they both lost their debut, and then they've been on this 4-fight win streak. And whole Álvarez is finished. Has he finished every one since that?
Everyone since that. Second round ground and pound against Belwado. He guillotined Duffy in the first, armbarred Yakovlev, and then stopped Moises in the first round with elbows and uppercuts.
Yeah, because I had... Moises in that in his last fight, because I thought he was just way too more experienced, and he looked really impressive. I have picked Álvarez because it's so hard to pick. It was such a hard one to pick, but I've picked Álvarez just because I think he's a little bit, like you said, further along in his career.
Yeah. And I think he's got more finishing capabilities as well. I think Tsarukyan's he's becoming a great fighter, but he's still not quite found his confidence to start bolting things onto his wrestling. I mean, we might have seen a glimpse of it in that last fight against what's his name, but I don't know. Álvarez is a confident striker that's got good takedown defense, but is quite happy to go to the ground because he's got 16 submissions out of 19 fights. And he's no rush to go there. So he kind of bookends Tsarukyan's skills. And if Tsarukyan's a confident wrestler, but he's not confident in his submission skills or his striking, he's going to come unstuck at one end of his game. I mean, he surprised me. He surprised me a lot in that fight against Giagos. But his 3 fights before that were all decisions. And I just think Joel Álvarez is a real interesting problem for this division.
Yeah.
Massive, loads of submissions, awkward to deal with, great striking.
I guess the only thing is with him is because all of his fights, all of his wins are finishes, right? He's not actually... So is he really proving himself over the distance? If Tsarukyan can wrestle him and kind of grind him down a bit, would he be able to kind of battle through that?
That is a good question. I mean, his one loss in the UFC was to Damir Ismagulov, who's a strong wrestler. And that's what happened in that fight. Ismagulov was just attached to his hips the whole time, and he couldn't get space from him. But Ismagulov's 20-1. He was at the time. What is he now? But again, 23-1 now. A lethal wrestler and someone that could definitely replicate that kind of game plan would be Tsarukyan. But I don't think that Álvarez is the same fighter that fought Ismagulov. I think he's better now. And I think that he's got options no matter where the fight goes. He's a bit Sandhagen in the way that his skills are distributed, But obviously, a hell of a lot of submissions. I'm picking Yoel Álvarez for sure.
Yeah, I've gone for Yoel as well.